question. Do I know other async remote companies apart from Arkency and 37 Signals? It's a tricky question because there's lots of remote companies, and remote is becoming popular, and remote will become mainstream soon. What I find more important than remote is the async part, so that people can work at different times and not be blocked by each other. So to be honest, I don't know as many companies that are as async as we are, and it's so important for their culture as it is for us. But basically every successful open source project works this way, so this can work, and this is like our role model, open source project. The next question is that I have a MacBook Air, so someone asked if MacBook Air is enough for Ruby and Rails programming. When I was buying this laptop, I didn't expect it to be enough for coding. It was mostly meaning for reading, writing books maybe, and stuff like that. However, I started coding on it, and it was enough to run and code like the Redmine project, which I often use for my refactoring experiments. It was great for Redmine programming, so that was fine. But as we all know, Rails projects, they have all those slow builds, long builds, heavy builds. No laptop is enough. It's also worth reminding that I'm no longer a full-time programmer. Many of my duties and responsibilities is about running the company. I still code, but not so often. And just last thing, MacBook Air is really good for traveling, for moving between places, like I go to forest very often, and this is a fantastic laptop for that. Next question, that's a deep one. How would you combine CQRS with the actor model? I wrote down the answer here. So CQRS is command core responsibility segregation. Commands are for writing, read models are for reading, that's in short. In DDD, there's the concept of aggregates, and commands are often grouped by aggregates, so the right part is about aggregates. And for me, actor is an infrastructure equivalent of an aggregate, so they're the same but at different layers of abstraction. Actors take messages as the input to inbox, and those are basically commands when you combine it with the aggregate concept. So actor per aggregate, that's clear to me, but also actor per read model, because in the read side you have the read models for each different reading parts of your application. A short break in answering. So many questions, thank you so much. Keep them coming. I will choose not all of them, but the more I have, the better choice I have what to answer. When and how did you start Arkency? I started Arkency in 2007 when I started my freelancing career. It quickly turned into something bigger, so there is like no clear distinction between. If you're a freelancer and you're doing a good job, you quickly have the problem of having too much work, and then you have to decide either drop the work, so either reject some of the customers, the new ones, or find someone else to help you with the work. And I did the second thing. So I asked my friend Marcin to join me, to help me with the work, and we started working on the project together. And then quickly Jakub joined us, and so there was three of us. And we were all in different locations, so that's why Arkency has this remoteness, this asynchronousness in its DNA. We started this way. As for the name Arkency, it wasn't called like that from the beginning. It was actually a name that was invented by one of my customers. My initial idea for the name was Arkency, so without the R, but I didn't know it means ache as in pain, so it wasn't a good name. And then James, our customer, told me that it's not a good name, and he suggested Arkency as the best thing because arc has its meaning. And James liked his idea so much that he bought us the domain as a gift. So that's the way it started. Why Ruby and what next? What technologies, languages are the future? I'll start with why Ruby. Historical reasons. I made the switch from Java, and it wasn't purely rational. There were some positive emotions around Ruby when it started. In the beginning it was very agile, very testing focused, TDD focused. Yeah, and the language has really nice, elegant syntax. When I made the switch, Ruby represented the dynamic business world, not the heavy enterprise models, but startups, and everything was so exciting. So would I make the switch to Ruby today? I'm not sure, but I think so, because I still like everything about Ruby. The one thing that I don't like about Ruby is the part of the Rails community which is so focused on CRUDs and following the CRUD way. What language is the future? I have no idea. I think we overestimate the speed of changing technologies and adopting new technology. So it takes longer than we think. And what does it mean for a future? Is it like part of the mainstream? As not exciting as it sounds, the future will be very similar to what we have now. Java, .NET, PHP, Ruby, JavaScript. There is definitely a growing popularity of JavaScript, and I don't think it will change. It will keep this way. So realistically looking, I think that JavaScript will become better and better. There are people like Dan Abramov and other guys who are working very hard on it. And what would be my dream? I also don't know. I like Ruby, but I also like Haskell. But I also like Lisp, so I like to play with those languages to learn more. I'm quite happy to think that I will work on Rails applications, on Ruby applications and JavaScript applications because they get better and better. That's great. I received a similar question which was specifically about Elixir and would I make a move up to Elixir and what would have to change before you make the switch. I'm asked this question so often. To be honest, I'm worried about the part of Elixir that it is based on many of the Ruby and Rails people, and I don't think we learned the lessons here. Elixir and Erlang, they solve many problems, but most of them are about concurrency or effectiveness or performance. And to be honest, I work on many big Rails applications, and both concurrency and performance are not the hugest problem there. If people will use Elixir in the way that we use like aggregates and as actors, and so we go more into this DDD CQRS, then great. So it's not the part that I'm skeptical about the technical parts of Elixir. It's more about the community and the patterns which will evolve. These are more important. And we haven't solved the problem in Rails community with big projects. So I'm trying to promote DDD, CQRS and event sourcing, but I don't see it happening very quickly. I will put those questions together. They are about recruitment in the initial phase and what we consider now as the good candidate. At the beginning, there wasn't much of a recruitment process. We were one of a few Rails companies around here, and it was like, you know Rails, join us. What definitely helped us was the very active Wrocław Ruby community called DRAG from Dolnośląski Ruby User Group. That helped a lot. So at some point, our company was very Wrocław focused, and we have really good universities here, like University of Wrocław and Technical University of Wrocław. In 2010, I started teaching Rails at University of Wrocław, and I did it for 5 years, and it was a good way of meeting new candidates. Which was funny because recruitment was never the goal of this class that I was running. But somehow it happened, like I met someone interesting and they wanted to work for me. Our current recruitment process is a bit different. We don't care about technology so much because we know everyone can learn Ruby and Rails and JavaScript. So we put more focus into experience. We require experienced people, experience in working on big projects. That's a big requirement here. Another important part is the communication skills. You need to have excellent written communication skills, voice skills, and so on. If you are active on Twitter, on our blog, or maybe in the future on Snapchat, this definitely helps because we can see how you communicate and what are your values. Also, if I'm asked about recruitment, it's important to know that we are not scaling. We are not trying to get to 50 developers. We are 15 developers and we are not growing so quickly. I prefer to focus on what we currently have. I want to maintain the current culture, and the current team is more important than the new potential hire. Adding a new developer to our company at this moment would add 15 additional communication points, and that's a cost. What would be your 3 topmost reasons for keeping a technical blog? I would revert the question, why not having a blog? Give me 3 reasons why not to have a technical blog. A technical blog teaches you how to be precise in your communication. And that's very important in teams. You will often need to write down instructions. I find it also super important for recruitment. It's much easier to talk to a new hire, to a potential hire when they have a blog. It's already a list of topics for me. How did you learn public speaking? Are you practicing diction, talking to the mirror, etc.? I think I learned most of my public speaking skills at the DRAG meetups, so at the local Ruby meetups. And it wasn't a conscious learning, it was just sharing knowledge with my friends at the meetup, and that's all. Now, do I practice? Yes, I practice. In some of my Snapchats 1 week ago, I showed all my preparation to the talk, and it's now on YouTube. I record myself speaking, the talk that I'm planning to have, and then I watch it and I see what kind of mistakes I'm doing and how to improve it. You know what also helps? Snapchat. Snapchat helps a lot with public speaking because it forces me to speak, right? I'm now speaking, I'm practicing. And during the last month, Snapchat was actually the earliest phase of coming up with ideas and talking about them. So this is definitely the public speaking class for me. Was it worth to pass some English certificates? FCE, CAE, do employers care? I'm not sure if other employers care. I definitely don't care. Like, it doesn't hurt to have an English certificate, but I don't look for it. Again, if you have a technical block and you block in English, that's enough of a certificate that you are able to communicate in English. And even better with Snapchat. If you have a Snapchat and I see you talking in English very fluently and in a nice way, that's cool, that's enough. What can you say about Snapchat since you started experimenting with it? It's now like 2 months that I'm using Snapchat, and I'm constantly surprised by the cool new things that I discover by using Snapchat for myself. Like the thing I just said before, I discovered just recently that Snapchat is a public speaking class for me. One thing that I'm trying to improve in myself is to be more precise in communication, and Snapchat forces me into that. It teaches me how to be precise in 10 seconds. So I started this Snapchat for Developers experiment, and I consider it almost like a success already. There are already many programmers, many developers here. They share their knowledge, they share what they read, they share presentations, slides, code snippets, and that's great. So at the beginning it was an experiment for me, but now I think I'm close to the decision to actually stay here for longer. Just to be precise, I don't consider Snapchat to be my only communication channel. I still want to be on YouTube, on Twitter, on blog, on my mailing list, and so on. Snapchat is just best for quickly sharing some ideas in this way, in video way. YouTube is like more bureaucratic in its meaning. Since when did you adopt domain-driven design? It was 2.5 years ago when Mirek Pragłowski, who is now in Arkency, explained DDD, event sourcing and CQRS to me. Since then, I'm like all in with DDD, CQRS and event sourcing. I see the improvements that we have in our projects. Why CQRS? What's less appreciable about old CRUD? First of all, I treat CQRS as part of the combo. DDD, event sourcing and CQRS. I think event sourcing is most important. When you just do CRUD, you don't really feel that you're missing something. It's a funny thing because you need to learn event sourcing to understand the difference between them. It's like with CRUD, you're making this decision to forget about all the history changes. You're making this decision, but you are not aware of it usually. With CRUD, you're also looking at the system as just one big thing. With CQRS, you're dividing it into writes and reads. So it's not that you have one front-end application. You actually have several things to display data, which means you have several read models. So that's different part. And you may also have different write models. CRUD hides it because with CRUD you usually have those one huge data model. In smaller applications, the difference between CRUD and CQRS is not so visible, so it's more like in the medium-large applications. What would be your best advice for a junior Rails developer looking to join some startup? Let people know about you. Have a technical blog, help with open source projects, attend meetups. Also, learn about the companies around you. Ask them or just research what is their mission, what values they're looking for, what's their goal. Also, be proactive. If you see that you can bring some value to the company, let the company know, hey, I can help you with this, and that will be cool. Alright, I think that's enough. Thanks for all the questions. I hope you liked my answers and I hope you learned something here. I think I will do it again one day. Feel free to send more questions. I will answer them in the next Ask Me Anything. And a reminder for those of you who are Polish speaking, I will attend the Polish radio tomorrow, Radio 4. And 10 a.m. I will talk about Snapchat. If you liked all of my answers here, please add yourself to this directory of developers on Snapchat. It's called devsnap.herokuapp.com. Basically a list of developers on Snapchat. Currently there is 55, and it's a huge help for new developers to join because they will see that there are already some people. And it's very quick and doesn't require registration. You just click here, fill those 3 things, and that's it. That's all.